Hey there guys, BumperTYR here. I just wanted to talk about some Maplestory inaccuracies, well, classic Maplestory inaccuracies that people use to argue against the creation of a classic server and try to say, and basically say that, oh, this is why a classic server wouldn't work in present day. First one, pre-Big Bang Maplestory took too long to level. Leveling is much faster now. This is not true. As of 2008, 1 to 200 from scratch took less time than 1 to 275 from scratch if you were straight grinding like you do now. The reason being is that nowadays, yeah, the leveling pace from 1 to 210 is pretty streamlined and pretty quick, but once you get into the river, you have to start making secondary characters for Link skills and Legion, plus the fact that you're constantly getting time-gated from better training grounds by Arcane Force. It all just adds up, and in general just takes longer to get to max because of that. Also in classic Maplestory, you only had to be level 135 to gain access to all the content in the game, which by 2008, that could be done in about a month if you were hardcore grinding, which nowadays, you have to be 255 in order to access Lymina and the Black Mage, so you have to be 255 to access everything in the game. Another constantly used argument is that pre-Big Maplestory had no content. If we're just talking pre-Big Bang, like all the way up until the Big Bang patch actually hit, in terms of continents/areas, we had Victoria Island, Florina Beach, Kerning Square, Orbis, Elnath, Ludibrium, Omega Sector, the Aqua Road and the Deep Sea Gorge, Moria, Korean Folktown, Masteria, which was New Leaf City, Phantom Forest, Crimsonwood Keep, and the Prendergast Mansion, Mulong and Herb Town, Zipangu, which was Mushroom Shrine, Pine Forest, Shawa Town, and Ninja Castle, the Nahal Desert, which was Orion and Magadia, the Ellen Forest, to the Temple of Time, Singapore and Malaysia, which was CBD, Boat Quay Town, Udu City, Kampung Village, and the Fantasy Theme Park. You also had Neo City, Mushroom Castle, and the Minar Forest, which was the Dragon Valley and Leafry. When it came to major bosses, we had Zakum, Chaos and Normal, Horntail, Chaos and Normal, Populatus, Pink Bean, Pyanus, Castellan and Big Toad, the Yakuza boss, Targa and Scarleon, the Twisted Grandmasters, Lord Balrog, Krexel, and Royal Guard Type S. And you could consider some of the field bosses major bosses just because of how infamous they were, like Inigo, Bigfoot, and the Headless Horseman. When it came to party quests for you to participate in, you had Moon Bunny, The First Time Together, the Monster Carnival, the Ludibrium Party Quest, the Ludibrium Maze Party Quest, Orbis Party Quest, Romeo and Juliet, Ice Gorge, Ghost Ship, Shirinian Guild Party Quest, the Amorian Challenge, Crimsonwood Keep Party Quest, and the Leafry Dragon Rider Party Quests. When it came to classes, we had the Adventurers, which are now called the Explorers, Dual Blades, Sickness Knights, Aran and Evan. You also then need to tack on all of the different types of quests, jump quests, and extraneous content that surrounded those areas. Because don't forget that questing was pretty viable since it could give good scrolls or consumables or just good equipment for you to use, etc. You don't miss the old game, you just miss the community. That's just not true. Some people just enjoyed the slower role-based gameplay, and enjoyed the more single-target with light mobbing type gameplay. I'm one of them. To be fair, I actually enjoy both. I enjoy current-day Maplestory, action RPGs, flying around the map, just doing tons of mobbing, but I also enjoy the classic game, and enjoy doing the single-target with light mobbing in the later levels. It's just personal preference. It's like how people still enjoy Ocarina of Time after all these years. It's not because they want to relive their childhood. It's because the game is just good. It was fun to play. Pre-Big Bang Maplestory has too many time gates. I mean, so does current day Maplestory. The worst time gate that classic Maplestory had was travel. That was the biggest time gate the game had. I mean, nowadays, all the time gates the game has are like locked behind dailies, and it requires you to log in 7 days a week, which that sucks. That's worse than that's worse than traveling, because traveling really wasn't all that bad. I mean, it just made the world feel alive. Like, hey, you have to travel with boats to different continents. That it's a time gate, but also made sense from both a game immersion and gameplay perspective. Classic MapleStory was too time-consuming. I mean, the game's more time-consuming now. I mean, you're pretty much forced to log in 7 days a week for progression. I mean, obviously you're not forced to, it's still a choice, but the game does a really good job setting up fear of missing out if you don't log in and do your dailies every day. Arcane symbols especially, because every day you miss is basically just another day added to your symbol grind, which, when you think about it, that doesn't feel good. I don't want to be forced to party quest, then just don't party quest. It was never the most effective way of leveling. It was good, it was efficient, and it was fun, but it was never the most effective. And that's primarily because it was kind of hit or miss. If you didn't find a party within a quick and reasonable period of time, a lot of your play session would be forming the party and finding a channel. And I feel like a lot of people fell into that trap, and that's why they ended up getting stuck in the 20 to 30 range for like a month. It's because they were trying to do the first time together only, rather than actually going out and grinding, doing quests, etc. Because if you straight grinded, I mean, it was so much faster than party questing. The only time I would say that party questing could be faster is if you had a group of friends that would all log on at the exact same time, like a planned time, track down a channel immediately, and then hold it for like a couple of hours without missing. That would be the only way party questing would be more efficient. Next, MapleStory has more avenues of progression now, which is true. There's more avenues of progression, leveling up alternate characters, potential, sorry for the dogs, spell traces, etc. The problem is, they've also raised the requirements for bosses, and just content in general. So even though there is more avenues of progression now, the ceiling has been raised, so it doesn't even matter that there's more avenues of progression. Also, a lot of those the types of progression, it's not fun to participate in. It's toxic. Especially when you're one of those unlucky people that goes beyond the average. As someone who has blown up 19 pairs of Chaos Root Abyss Pants just trying to get 20 stars, I can tell you right now, it's not a good feeling. I don't get me wrong, I get it. I'm far beyond the average, but that's the problem. The fact that I can go this far beyond the average is just... it doesn't feel good. Old MapleStory isn't new player friendly. I'm sorry, it's so much more new player friendly than MapleStory is now. New players are hit with such an ungodly amount of information when trying to start MapleStory now. Do this system, do that system, 60 characters, like, it's so hard to get into the game in present day, compared to when MapleStory first came out, all the way up through Big Bang. I mean, arguably, the time that the game was at its friendliest for new players was from Big Bang up until Unleashed, but still, classic MapleStory was a lot more new player friendly than the game was now. Game is now. Apologies. Creating a classic server would cannibalize current-day MapleStory, which doesn't make any sense because doesn't that defeat the whole argument of nobody wants to play classic MapleStory? I mean, because that's the thing. A lot of people say, oh, nobody would play the game. Nobody would play it. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of resources. It's a waste. But then say that it would take away from the current game. It contradicts itself. But I would like to say that no, that would not happen. Classic MapleStory appeals to an entirely different audience than current-day MapleStory. Again, they are entirely different genres. They are both 2D MMORPGs, yes, but current-day MapleStory is an action RPG, while classic MapleStory is a classic RPG. More emphasis on role-based gameplay and working together with friends and content. While MapleStory now is an action RPG with more emphasis on solo play and light party play for bosses. Anyways, those are just a couple of the inaccuracies and arguments that I've seen people use to kind of fight against a classic server, an idea that if you feel different about some of the subjects that I brought up, I mean, please let me know in the comment below. I'm always down to talk about classic Maplestory. I'm a huge classic Maplestory fan. I'm praying that someday we get an official server. I really hope that someday it comes out. I think it could be very successful in the current video game climate, especially with so many bad MMORPGs coming out. And Maplestory has no competition. There's nothing like it. A lot of people will say, go play a different game. Just go play a different game. Just go play a different game. But there's nothing like Maplestory. There's nothing like current-day Maplestory. There's nothing like classic Maplestory. It's crazy how special both versions of the game are. Anyways, before I start to ramble and waste your time, again, if you have different opinions, leave it in the comments below. I hope you guys have a great day. Happy mapling.